Some legends have endured for more than 200 years. Because even to this day, in a small valley in America called Sleepy Hollow, people say that whenever night falls, a headless horseman would ride through the thick mist. He was searching for something he had lost. Sleepy Hollow lies along the banks of the Hudson River, a place strangely peaceful and quiet. Yet the villagers believe that wandering spirits appeared everywhere throughout the land. And the most famous of them all was the Headless Horseman. According to legend, it was the spirit of a German soldier. During the war, a cannonball blasted off his head. From that day on, every night, the ghost rode through the darkness, searching for his lost head. One day, a stranger arrived in Sleepy Hollow. His name was Ichabod Crane, a young schoolteacher from Connecticut.
Ichabod was tall and lanky, so thin that he looked more like a scarecrow than a man. But he was very intelligent, and especially loved telling stories. During the day, he told ghost stories to everyone, but at night, he was the one most frightened by those very stories.
The longer he lived in Sleepy Hollow, the more obsessed Ichabod became with the legend of the Headless Horseman.
Then one day, he met Katrina Van Tassel, the most beautiful young woman in the region. That only made Ichabod fall even more deeply under her spell. But Ichabod was not the only man pursuing her. He had a rival.
A man who was extremely dangerous. It was Brom Bones, the strongest man in the region, and the finest horseman anyone had ever seen. From that moment on, a series of pranks and strange tricks began appearing around Ichabod. Even so, Ichabod refused to give up. He believed that one day he would marry Katrina. One autumn day, Katrina's family hosted the biggest party of the year. Ichabod was so excited that he began preparing early that morning. He put on the finest clothes he owned. When he arrived, the first thing that caught his attention was not Katrina, but the banquet table. He ate without stopping and imagined that all of this wealth would someday belong to him. After the feast, everyone began to dance, and Ichabod danced with Katrina. Brom could only stand and watch, and his gaze grew colder with every passing moment. As night fell, everyone gathered around the fireplace and began telling ghost stories.
And of course, the story mentioned more than any other was the tale of the Headless Horseman. Brom even claimed that he had once raced his horse against the ghost itself.
Those stories terrified Ichabod, but he still tried to appear calm when he mentioned the Headless Horseman always roaming the village at midnight.
At the end of the party, Ichabod decided to confess his feelings.
No one knows what Katrina said to him, but when Ichabod stepped outside, his face was completely devastated.
He climbed onto his horse and rode home, alone in the darkness.
The forest began to feel more and more terrifying, and every ghost story came rushing back into his mind.
Then suddenly, he saw a lone rider on horseback ahead of him.
The rider said nothing. He simply followed in silence. Then, as the moonlight broke through the clouds and illuminated the figure,
Ichabod froze in terror. The rider had no head.
Panic-stricken, Ichabod spurred his horse forward and fled into the night. The Headless Horseman instantly gave chase. The thunderous sound of pounding hooves echoed throughout the forest.
and the distance between them grew smaller and smaller.
Ahead of him stood the bridge beside the old church, the very place where people said the ghost would disappear. Ichabod crossed the bridge, then turned his head to look back.
Don't look back!
But the ghost did not disappear. It raised its severed head high into the air. A dark object suddenly came hurtling through the air. It struck Ichabod with tremendous force, and everything faded into darkness.
All that people found were a hat, horse hoof prints, and a shattered pumpkin.